My guest is Jordan Richards from the Screening Room.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
I'm doing great. So good to see you.
It's good to see you, too.
Yeah. So what's happening at Screening Room these days?
So month of June, we've got a couple big new releases. One in particular, we sort of have a funny relationship with, where it's a movie that we've been advertising since October. For those of you who don't know, sometimes with the strike, with distributors, movies get delayed. And so I've had this trailer in rotation for quite some time, and people constantly asking about it. But it's a film called The Great Escaper. So it stars Sir Michael Caine, and it's based on the true story of a man by the name of Bernard Jordan. The movie itself is set in 2014, and Bernard Jordan is in a retirement home, and he's a World War II veteran. And he decides on the 70th anniversary of D-Day that he's going to escape out of his retirement home and make his way to Juno Beach to be a part of the celebration. So it's a movie that we thought we were getting in October, then we thought we were getting in March, and then we kind of thought we were getting in April, but it's just been pushed back, and we're really excited to show it. Obviously people love films based on true stories, and it is a sort of quirky yet inspiring story of, a man sort of in his last years really taking it upon himself to be there with his troops and his comrades. So we're looking forward to that one. Should be good. We have another one coming up later in the month, so this is June 21st, called Thelma. Thelma stars a woman by the name of June Squibb. Oscar, she's like a bit actress. Apparently she's like 93 years old and never had a leading role before. This is her first leading role, has been active since the 50s, but it sort of tells a story of this older woman, Thelma, who and this is very topical, falls victim to a cell phone scam. She gets a phone call one day. She believes it's her grandson. Grandma, I'm in prison. I need your help. And she, in a panic, sends $10,000 to the address, the random address that she was told to, only hours later to see her grandson and discover that she's been scammed. So what does Thelma do? It becomes a revenge action movie where she decides that she's going to find those guys and they have to pay for it. So that very family-friendly comedy, also the last film of Richard Roundtree, who was Shaft. So that's another big one coming up at the theater. We're sort of hoping that those will be sort of the big two releases of the month.
And both of them, I'm thinking, ooh, I'd like to see those.
Yeah.
I know, they're my kind of movies.
Yeah, they're definitely, when we're programming, obviously we like to take risks on art house things. Obviously, we like to do foreign and international things. But at the same time, we also know that we have to play for the matinees too. Yeah. And that has always been a very loyal fan base. We had Wicked Little Letters a couple months ago, big movie. So having those two releases and having them be movies that people have been engaged with and really excited about and finally getting them is really exciting there. But if you're looking for something a little bit more difficult, if you're looking for something a little bit more art housey, the other big release in June, at the end of the month, so I believe it's the 28th, director Yorgos Lanthimos, who recently made the movie Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, they've teamed up again to make a movie called Kinds of Kindness that has been sort of elusive. All I know about it is it is an anthology film. So for those of you who don't know, most movies, they have a linear story. You start at the beginning, you get to the end. An anthology film is several different stories in one, loosely interconnected. And it is a sort of, let's say, cynical reflection on why people choose to be kind.
Oh.
That's all I really know about it.
Okay.
It's got a really eclectic cast, Willem Dafoe, Emma Stone, and we're excited about it because at the Screening Room, whenever we get the opportunity to open movies that are from the major studios the day of, we really, really do our best to promote those so we can show people that we are just as viable of a space as any movie theater is. So that's sort of the landscape as far as in the coming months go. As far as looking forward in the summer, something we're really excited about, and we haven't officially programmed it yet, but we're going to do Hitchcock all of in July.
Oh, that is terrific.
Yeah, it's something that we get requested all the time, and we try to pepper it in, but we were like, this is what the people want. give them what they want.
For younger people who don't know about Hitchcock, tell me about Hitchcock.
Sure. Alfred Hitchcock, yeah, I guess people might not know.
Maybe some people.
Alfred Hitchcock was a very legendary British filmmaker who sort of cut his teeth in mysteries and was the precursor for horror films and the precursor for, a lot of the language that we understand as far as like a noir or a mystery movie or a whodunit. It all can be argued that it goes back to him. He is responsible for such legendary movies as Psycho, Vertigo, North by Northwest, but has this career that is so vast and so large that even though he's managed to have, 10 iconic movies, there are 40 great films. And he was active from like just the end of the silent era to his last film, which was like 1971.
Probably, yeah. He looked to be a good age, but worked right up until pretty much the end, as I recall.
He went for a long time.
He went a long time, yeah.
But, so he's very seminal. So that's what's exciting about a series like that, is that there are sort of two audiences.
Right.
There are people who love Alfred Hitchcock. They want to revisit it. They're like, I could see Psycho on the big screen. I could see North by Northwest. And then there are people in the sort of growing internet fandom of film who know the name. They know he's that guy, and he's kind of stout, and they know The Shadow.
Right, and he walks into his profile, and
Yes.
of course he had a television show too.
Yes, Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yes, but he would walk in and always be a very distinctive voice. Good evening.
Yes.
And they always had that little twist at the end that you didn't see coming. And
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And his films play like that a lot too, where
They do.
If you from like a film historian sense, there are so many techniques and so many kinds of storytelling motifs that come from this guy.
Yeah.
The
One that comes to mind is you the door, and you're expecting something to be behind that door, and then the door, and a cat walks in, so you kind of go,
yes.
oh. And then he hits you with whatever it is. They're coming, they're coming out a window or something.
Yes.
And you really jump because you're not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And then the other thing he always appeared in his own movies.
Yeah, he's always there. He's there somewhere.
And I heard that was because it was to save money on hiring an extra.
I totally believe that. I've heard that too. Yeah, he's a very seminal and interesting filmmaker. So if you love Hitchcock, we'll have them. If you've been curious about them, we'll have them. I obviously highly recommend, just as far as, even if it's in the sense of ticking those boxes of, I've heard about this, because the experience is different. Like from my personal experience, I've seen a bunch of his movies, and I watched them years ago, and we're like, okay, that's pretty good. And when I got the opportunity to finally see Psycho in a movie theater, this sort of light bulb went off of like, oh, this is incredibly compelling. This is the sort of it's hard to talk about why that movie's so effective without ruining it. It's also kind of ironic to be worried about ruining a movie that's 70 years old. But the techniques and the way that he lets things unfold are really the bread and butter of so many mysteries and so many things that have happened since that, cinema in a way is indebted to him.
Well, I can tell you one contribution he made that changed everything.
Sure.
And that was when I was a kid, you'd go to a movie, you went anytime. You'd see the end of the movie, and then you'd see it from the beginning. And it was just, we actually never even thought that was unusual.
Sure.
When Psycho was released, I think it was around 60, 61, somewhere in there.
That sounds right.
That was one of his conditions in releasing his film, was that no one be allowed to enter the theater.
Really?
Yeah, and so people are crowded out in the lobby thinking, what's going on here? Why can't I get in there?
Yeah.
Well, they hear the reaction from the audience.
Yeah.
But that changed theater going forever, was that now you went when the movie started.
Yeah.
You didn't sit there and, catch the end and then the beginning.
Huh. My favorite urban legend, I don't think it's an urban legend, but my favorite legend of Psycho is that it was based on a book.
Okay.
And Hitchcock was so protective of the movie that he allegedly bought every single paperback copy that he could get his hands on, billed it to the studio to make sure that no one had any knowledge of whom exactly Norman Bates was. Because it was a very faithful adaptation. I think sequentially it's a little different, But he did not, he at no expense was going to let that ending be ruined, even by a document that had already existed.
And made people afraid to take showers for months
Forever.
after.
Yeah. No, I think
The shower
even
scene.
new audiences, when they see it, there's you make eye contact with the shower curtain every once in a while. You might see a shadow or something, or just fog on the mirror, but
You never know. You
never
never know. Norman Bates, he's here.
He's coming.
Right, he's coming.
yeah.
Anyway, this is so interesting. So the screening room, where do we find you?
So we're 120 Princess Street. And our online presence, screeningroomkingston.com. You can buy tickets. It'll have all our show times. That's our website.
You can subscribe to the newsletter,
Yes.
and that tells you everything that's coming up. And
Yeah,
all
we
this,
update it every week. You would get a monthly, it's an email newsletter, very up to date.
Absolutely great place, one of my favorite spots. So
I'm
thank
always
you.
happy to hear that.
Thank you so much for coming in.
And thank you.